What's up guys, Brendan Hancock here with another episode of Groove Subaru today, and today we've brought along two Subaru Outbacks. To my left, the all-new, completely redesigned 2020, and to my right, the outgoing model, the 2019. Now these are both 2.5i Limiteds, and today we're going to take a look at the differences and see what's new for 2020. Let's go take a look. Now, if we take a look at these two vehicles side by side, we can definitely tell that they're both Subaru Outbacks. But one thing that we'll notice over here on the 2020 model, they have kind of changed the front grille here a little bit. They've changed the material from more chrome to a little bit more of a matte color here. Looks to be that the Subaru logo is just a little bit more prominently displayed on the 2020 model as well. Now, the most obvious difference is going to be the cladding and stuff that they have here. They've definitely made more of the surface area covered by this plastic cladding. Now, that may seem like some type of cost-saving things, but it actually has a realistic application. And that's because a lot of people are taking these off-road and they're going off the beaten path where they're gonna get scuffed up and they're gonna get scratched and things like that. So, you know, more off-road capable vehicles tend to have plastic on those types of areas. So I actually see this as an improvement as opposed to something that could be seen as negative. So I definitely like seeing this a lot. It definitely gives it a more off-road look. If we take a look at the fog lights as well here, we can see on the older model, on the 2019, we have the more traditional circular fog light over here. On the newer model, we're going to kind of what we're seeing on the Forester Sport with the LED fog lights, which is very much a welcome addition. Now, if we take a look at the headlight design, both of these do have steering responsive headlights, although they have changed the design a little bit. On this one, your headlights are on the outs, like the main headlight is on the outside. It's moved to the inside here, so they kind of flipped it a little bit. You know, from a distance, you can't really notice it too much, but they have changed it ever so slightly. So LEDs are going to be standard on all trim levels of the 2020 Outback, even the base model. So it's kind of like what we're seeing on the Forester, but now being translated over to the Outback. Now, the other thing that we'll notice here, the hood design has changed slightly. We do have a slightly more aggressive hood. So if we look at the 19, totally flat here, we do have the lines here, which we do still have, although they are more prominent here on the 2020. But we also have kind of this little bit more muscle car kind of feel to it on the 2020 here, which is really nice. Looking at the front windshield, not much has changed here. These both are equipped with eyesight. So yeah, really nothing else has changed there so much. I mean, there are differences with eyesight. We'll talk about that on the inside. But one thing I do want to talk about is what's under the hood, since they are slightly different. So let's go pop those hoods. Now, this being the 2019, they both have the 2.5i. Now, this is the little bit more traditional 2.5i that we've had for some time. Now, this is not equipped with the auto start stop like the 2020 is, and everything looks relatively the same. It's just a slightly modified version in the newer model. So, whereas this is pushing out 175 horsepower, if we move on over to the new 2020 model, we're getting a slight bump in power with 182 horsepower. So not crazy numbers, differences there, but we are getting a little bit more low-end torque there. So slight improvements here, a little bit better fuel economy on the 2020. We're going from, 32 miles per gallon on the highway up to 33 miles per gallon on the highway, and a slightly improved smog rating as well, due primarily to that auto start stop feature. Now, available for 2020 is also the all-new 2.4 turbo, which would be referred to as the XT, available in various trim levels such as the Onyx Limited and Touring trims, and that is the engine that dreams are made of, my friends. 260 horsepower, and you have 277 foot-pounds of torque available at 2,000 RPM, and guess what? Put regular gas in it too, which is so beautiful. So that's my personal favorite engine, but for those looking for slightly better fuel economy, this engine is still available, and obviously if you want to save some money too. So definitely a great engine. They've made some modifications to it, changed a lot of components, but still the basic body is the same on both of these engines. Now, if we're taking a look at the sides of these vehicles, not a ton has changed. I mean, the overall look of it, you can tell very much that it's an Outback. There might be a slight difference here. The wheel arch molding area is a little bit different, but not a lot. I mean, we do have a slightly different wheel design. Definitely looks like it's carrying over the same kind of idea, but a slight difference. I wouldn't say I would label it as perhaps an improvement, just different, not worse, not better per se. But I do like this new thing that they did. So they took the chrome, and now it's going to carry over into the headlight area here. Just gives it a nice tied together look, which I really like. So overall, not a lot on the side that's changed. Wheel design's nice, but I do like this sort of elegant tie together that they're doing. It seems like Subaru's doing that a lot, both in the dash, kind of a new thing they're going for. Look at the backs of these vehicles. There definitely are some noticeable differences between the 2019 and 2020. So this is the outgoing model, the 19. Where the major differences are going to be, pay attention here to the tail lights. They've definitely done some upgrade or at least design changes, so to speak, for the 2020, which we'll look at in a second. Also focus here on the cladding area. So they definitely have changed the amount of surface area, which we'll see here in a little bit. This is a little bit of a different design here. We still have the same thing, on the next one, but they've just changed kind of the pattern here. Now the traditional way of opening, we have here, you can do it from the inside. You can also do it from the key. But this is just a traditional lift gate, automatic here. We do have a little bit of a difference in size. I mean, it's a little bit bigger in 2020, but only by about 2 cubic feet. So just looking at it here, it's not a huge amount of difference. We've always had a large amount of space back here, but when the seats are folded down, we're looking at about 2 more cubic feet of space. I believe it's 73 and some change, up to 75 and some change for the 2020. So it's still relatively the same size. We do still have these latches, latches here. Everything else pretty much the same. We still have the same ability to remove this. You can store it underneath this area here, which changes a little bit on 2020, but we still can store that under there. Oops, it's a little tow hitch attachment there. Still have the outlets back here. Everything is relatively the same, but we will look at a couple of changes that have been made for 2020. So as we walk over here, like I said, tail light design, definitely a huge difference here. We've got a lot more going on, a lot more high contrast coloring here, and also a little bit more of that, you can call it lobster, crab claw, I like to call it, they call it a C-shaped, tail light, but I just cannot think of something but seafood when I look at this thing. But it's definitely a cool design. I like how it looks a little more black too. It kind of, definitely with the white also is a high contrast. But unlike the traditional way of just opening the hood, which you still can do, now you can actually just stand up next to it and it opens, which is awesome. I just have to have the key on me. Obviously, this would only work for the ones with the automatic rear liftgate, and you need to have the smart key too. So definitely limited on depending on which trim level you have, this being a limited. But if we look at other differences, like I said, the design here changed, and also look at the cladding. So there's definitely a lot more, just like in the front, of that plastic cladding, which, like I said, you're taking this vehicle on some, off the beaten path a little bit, definitely gonna see a little bit of an improvement in terms of cost of repairs there. Now, both of these are equipped with the reverse automatic braking. We do see the parking sensors here, and they've kind of gone back a little bit more to the older style with the different color in the center here. I don't know if you guys noticed this. I don't think I mentioned it, but they did have this in the front too. So I think it's just a little bit more high contrast, off-road kind of look to it. And we do see a little bit different light design down here as well. But although not that much, they just done a little bit more with it, added some additional lines to make it a little bit more rigid. Same thing in terms of folding the seats down. We do still have these latches here and everything. One thing I do love though, they have added additional latches for tying down your gear. So we have a couple of extra hooks here that can be added as accessories. If you guys looked at the touring trim level video that we did as a really in-depth review there, they definitely have these optional extra hooks that you can put in there. So that's really great if you're trying to tie down all of your gear and stuff like that and you're going off-roading or camping. The other thing I love about this is just how flat and long it is. So if you're looking at doing car camping, I mean either Outback, 19 or 20, this is the best option if you're looking to sleep in the car. Obviously you'd probably want to put your gear on top. So the nice thing is though, we do have those roof rails that we saw earlier. So pretty much everything else though is the same except for this little cargo cover area is a little different now. So we still have the traditional way of covering up the back here, but now we also have this new option to cover up larger objects. So for example, if you're carrying, you're a bootlegger and you're carrying a barrel of whiskey or something like that and you need a higher ground area, now you can actually cover that. So good to know. I'm just kidding, but larger boxes and stuff you can still cover up there. So definitely cool, and this does still come off really easily. You can store this below underneath here. We have a video on how to do that too. So stores very nicely under there. But yeah, overall Subaru, really good job on the redesign. I'm liking it. Now we're sitting in the driver's seat of the 2020. Now the biggest difference on these two cars has got to be the all-new 11.6-inch head unit here. We'll talk about it a very little bit here, but we did do a very in-depth video specifically of the new head unit where we touch every possible button we could touch, talk about it in much more detail. And we also have a video much more in depth on the 2020 Outback. We use an XT touring trim level, but we go into things that are in much more detail. Here we're really focusing on the differences between the two. And this is where a lot of the differences are. It's in the front area. If we take a look at the seat design here, definitely much more resembling now kind of the stitching that's in the Imprezas and the Ascents. Definitely a much more elegant look. I like it a lot. Makes it feel much more luxurious. The biggest thing, if we're looking at kind of the dash area on the touring trim, you actually have leather here and stuff. But they've kind of given it a little bit more of an aggressive look. There's more rigid lines as opposed to just a smooth base like you're seeing in the 19. So definitely this is a little bit different. We have a nice little storage area here, which we don't see on the 2019. And up here too, we also have the facial recognition system too. So you're able to actually, just like we have on the Forester in the higher trim levels, we have it now in the Outback here. I believe both Limited and Tourings have it. But you can set it so that when you get into the car, it scans your face and moves your seat to exactly where you want it. You can even set it to that when you turn off the car, it automatically turns the seat all the way back to make it easier to get in. This whole area is completely redesigned. Obviously focusing around this behemoth of an infotainment system. Kind of looks like what you see in a Ram 1500, the newer ones, or also some Volvo cars I know have huge head units like this. But as a result, pretty much everything that you were doing, either down here with X mode or, auto vehicle hold, all that kind of stuff, this is a much smaller area right here. And that's because none of those buttons need to be anywhere else because they can just be done in the head unit. Even the little area where we have the screen in between the speedometer and tachometer here, same size it looks like. Usually there is like on a 19, you have an option where it says, pull and hold the I set button for menu. You can pull and hold it and you can change your tire pressure units, the clock, all this other stuff. All of that now is gonna be done on the head unit. So we still have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. One of the coolest things is that now you can have Apple CarPlay up and running on the top half of your infotainment system, and then also have the bottom half showing your radio, which is a very welcome feature. The other thing that's nice is they've redesigned. We've had a huge problem, or people complaining about nowhere to put your phone. And when you're using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you have nowhere to randomly put your phone and stuff. So one, they've made these cup holders much bigger, which is helpful. But now we have this nice deep area to put your phone, and it easily fits, my iPhone 10, which is the larger size. So I don't remember if it's like the X or the R, I don't know. But it's, the larger one, and it fits wonderfully right there, which makes it super convenient. So we still have our parking brake and everything here. We don't have the hill holder feature button here anymore, but that's because we have auto vehicle hold, which you can use, inside the head unit. You can turn it on and off. It's going to default to off and stuff. But the nice thing is, even over here where they had a ton of buttons and stuff, they've simplified that. It's literally just your dimmer switch and to open up the trunk. All of the other buttons and stuff that used to be over here, all controlled in the head unit. And they have this nice little shortcut button here for all of your X mode, turning off traction control, turning on auto vehicle hold, things like that, which make it really, really easy. I've heard some people complain about, you got to go through all these different menus to do stuff, but you really don't. They make it quite easy. Everything that's important that you would need to do is easily accessible. Now, if we take a look at the steering wheel, very much the same. We still have our paddle shifters, the trip resets in the same spot and everything. I believe we still had this kind of satin chrome on the 19, but buttons, everything's the same except for one thing. We don't have the lane keep assist button. They have a lane centering feature now that can be used exclusively with the cruise control. So when you hit the button for your adaptive cruise control, let me move this so I can see better, you then have the ability to turn on this lane centering feature, which works at much slower speeds than the lane keep assist used to. So now you're using cruise control, you have this lane centering. It's going to allow you to basically stay in your lane, keep driving. It's still going to keep the nice safe distance for you and everything, but with much less effort than previously was needed. So it's gotten even easier, which is awesome. Really the only buttons that we physically have up here for our hazard lights, our defroster front and rear, and the physical temperature increase and decrease is done with that. And then I guess you could say, your tuner knob is also up there. But other than that, pretty much everything's controlled through here. So yeah. Oh yeah, one other thing. This is different. We now have a little two-tone thing, or two-layer thing. So you have a nice little thin layer up here to put little knickknacks, and then they also have the a little bit deeper one here. Now, this is, and I was a little bit confused about the CD player thing. So when we did our review on the Touring, there was the CD player in here, and I know it's not standard. I knew it wasn't standard because I saw it in our accessories list. So it looks like CD player, definitely not standard, but you can get that added still, so don't fret too much. We're definitely moving away from that, so is everybody else. But they kind of have made this, it's a little bit deeper, I feel, but it's not quite as big. I think it's because this is kind of pushing stuff back here. So still not, you know, a huge, massive one like you see on a lot of the big pickup trucks. But, you know, you have this little extra space over here, so I don't think it really creates too much of a problem for people. But definitely very welcome that they have a much larger cup holder thing here to fit those bigger cups, which is going to be helpful for your big gulps. So I'd say the second row of the Subaru Outback is definitely where the fewest differences are between the two cars from a 19 to 20. So we definitely see some design changes on the door here. We see more of that sort of satin chrome, kind of matte silver finish here, which is nice, but all the features and everything are all going to be the same. We do definitely have a lot more leather on here. Seat pockets, everything here is the same. We still do, given that this is a limited trim level, we do have the vents back here and heated seats in the rear as well, and also 2 USB ports for charging. Legroom seems to be comparable to a 19. Both still recline about 15 degrees or so. So really in the back, not much has changed between the 2 years. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys found this video to be helpful. Now, if you guys did like this video, make sure to give us a like below. And for more helpful videos like this, subscribe to our channel. Now, we have plenty of 2020 Outbacks currently in stock. So to see our most recent inventory, visit our website at groovesubaru.com. Give us a call today to schedule your test drive, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time on Groove Subaru Today. Take care.